Do you actually know what you poured into your coffee this morning? Or what you just whipped up to top that homemade pie? You went to the grocery store, you picked up a carton that clearly says, grade a heavy whipping cream on the front, and you assumed you were buying one thing: cream. You know, the fat-rich layer that naturally rises to the top of milk. Nothing added, nothing engineered, just pure, wholesome dairy. But if you actually flip that carton around and read the tiny print on the back, you are in for a very rude awakening. Your throat gets a little tight, your stomach does a mini flip, and you realize that your morning ritual is backed by a chemical laboratory. We are talking about carrageenan, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate 80, and gellan gum, stabilizers and emulsifiers with names you can barely pronounce, floating around in a product you thought came straight from a farm. It feels wrong, it tastes slightly off once you know it's there, and yet it is happening across every single price point on the shelf. Today, we are stripping away the clever marketing and blowing the lid off the supermarket dairy aisle. You will find out exactly how major food corporations legally manipulate the definition of pure cream to cut corners. I will show you the hidden regulatory loophole that allows companies to pack your dairy with industrial thickeners while still claiming it is grade A quality. We will break down a list of highly trusted brands, including some massive organic favorites that are secretly feeding you food chemistry instead of actual food. And most importantly, near the end of this video, I am going to reveal the absolute most shocking betrayal from a brand that built its entire reputation on small-town pastoral trust, and I will hand you a concrete roadmap of the clean. One ingredient brands you should actually be buying instead. By the time we are done, you will know more about the dairy industry than 90% of shoppers walking into a grocery store. To understand how your heavy cream became a science experiment, we have to talk about how this product is actually built. Real cream is a beautiful, fragile thing. It is what we call a natural fat emulsion, meaning tiny globules of milk fat are suspended in liquid. In the old days, making cream that stayed thick and consistent was an art form. It required incredibly high-quality raw milk, pristine temperature control throughout the supply chain, and fast turnover on store shelves. It is like owning a high-maintenance sports car. If you do not treat it perfectly, the whole system breaks down. But treating dairy with that level of care costs serious corporate dollars. It requires localized infrastructure and meticulous processing. And corporations absolutely hate spending money when they can just deploy a cheaper chemical shortcut instead. So, how does the modern food industry bypass the hard work of traditional dairying? They use extreme heat and rescue chemistry. Instead of gentle pasteurization, they subject the cream to ultra-high temperature processing, known as ultra-pasteurization, to artificially extend the shelf life for up to 60 days. It is great for their logistics, but there is a massive catch. That violent blast of heat completely shatters the delicate, natural emulsion of the milk fat. It destroys the texture, leaving the cream thin, watery, and totally incapable of whipping properly. To fix the damage they just caused, industrial foods scientists step in with an additive rescue squad. They pump the ruined cream full of emulsifiers and stabilizers to synthetically engineer the thickness and mouthfeel back into the liquid. It is the exact equivalent of taking a fresh strawberry, blasting it into a gray sludge, and then adding red dye and artificial sugar to convince you it is still a premium fruit. This is not a matter of safety. It is a matter of absolute deception. You are walking into stores like Target or Safeway, pulling a carton off the shelf and paying a premium price for what you think is pure, single-ingredient dairy. In reality, you are paying for marketing on the front and a chemical cocktail on the back. They use carrageenan, a seaweed-derived gelling agent, to simulate a rich body that does not exist naturally. They drop in mono and diglycerides to force fat and water to bind together when they naturally want to separate. They even throw in polysorbate 80, an industrial synthetic emulsifier used across dozens of non-dairy categories just to keep the whole illusion from collapsing during transport. Your heavy cream did not just get processed, it got completely re-engineered. And the worst part is the entire scam is completely hidden in plain sight, protected by the very people who are supposed to be regulating it. Let us dive straight into the belly of the beast and unmask the specific corporate players who are pulling off this dairy deception right under your nose. We will start with a brand that literally everyone watching this has bought at some point in their lives, because it is the undisputed titan of budget shopping, Walmart's house brand, Great Value Heavy Whipping Cream. Walk into any Walmart supercenter in America, head to the dairy cooler, and you will see shelves stacked high with these familiar white and blue cartons. The front of the packaging checks every single psychological box. It says Grade A. It features a pristine picture of fluffy, cloud-like whipped cream, and it boasts a price tag that makes your wallet sigh with relief. Walmart achieves this rock-bottom pricing by utilizing massive, highly consolidated industrial dairy supply chains designed to pump out millions of gallons of liquid at the lowest humanly possible cost. But if you stop staring at the low price and flip that carton around to check the back, you will see the exact blueprint for engineered dairy. The ingredient list reads cream, milk, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate 80, and carrageenan. That is the holy trinity of industrial food chemistry, the textbook starter pack act for fake thickness. Walmart has taken a product that should require nothing but a cow and a separator, and turned it into an ultra-processed fluid optimized for logistical survival, transport stability, and infinite shelf life, rather than flavor or quality. You are not buying a traditional farm product, you are buying a corporate liquid asset disguised as simple cream. If you already feel like walking over to your fridge to check your own shelf, hit that subscribe button right now, because the deeper we dig into this, the harsher it gets. You might think the solution to the budget brand trap is simple. Just spend more money and buy organic. That is exactly what the major food conglomerates want you to think. Which brings us directly to our next contender, Horizon Organic Heavy Whipping Cream. Horizon Organic is easily one of the most recognizable, widely distributed organic dairy brands in the United States. You can find their bright red cartons with the cheerful flying cow logo in almost every major supermarket from Kroger to Target to Safeway. For years, consumers have looked at that brand as a gold standard for purity and wholesome health. What those consumers do not realize is that Horizon Organic is not some independent, family-run pasture operation. It is a massive industrial label owned by Danone, one of the largest food corporations on the planet. Turn a carton of Horizon Organic Heavy Whipping Cream around and read the label. It lists organic cream and gellan gum. This is the ultimate organic trap. The corporate marketing machine has weaponized your desire for clean eating against you. They know that when you see the green USDA organic seal, your brain automatically assumes ingredient simplicity and old-fashioned purity. But here is the legal reality. The USDA organic framework and the FDA's ingredient standards are two completely separate sets of rules. Organic just means the cows were fed organic feed and were not pumped full of synthetic hormones. It does not mean the company cannot add industrial texturizers. Danone blasted this cream with ultra-pasteurization heat to make sure it could sit on a delivery truck for weeks, destroying the natural texture. And then they dropped in gellan gum, a sticky byproduct of bacterial fermentation. To fake the thickness back into the carton, they satisfied the legal definition of organic while completely violating the spiritual expectation of a natural, single-ingredient food. This brings us to a major disappointment in the premium dairy aisle. Organic Valley Heavy Whipping Cream. This one hurts because Organic Valley's entire brand identity is built on being a farmer-owned cooperative. Their marketing relies heavily on independent family farms, rural heritage, and artisanal trust. It is an incredibly compelling story, and it makes you feel like your premium dollars are going directly to support a hard-working American farmer instead of a faceless multinational corporation. Because of this premium positioning, Organic Valley commands a top-tier price on the shelf at places like Whole Foods and regional high-end grocers. But when you audit the back of their heavy whipping cream carton, the words stare right back at you: organic cream and gellan gum. It is the exact same formulaic story of cost-cutting and transport optimization. It is not legal fraud. They disclose the gellan gum right there on the panel, but it is a profound mismatch between what the brand's pastoral storytelling implies and what is actually inside the package. When you pay a steep premium for a farmer-owned cooperative label, you expect to get real, unadulterated cream. Instead, you are paying a premium price for stabilized dairy chemistry. But if you want to talk about a total formulation science experiment, we have to look at Darigold Heavy Whipping Cream. Darigold is a massive dairy cooperative based out of the Pacific Northwest, widely trusted by professional kitchens, bakeries, and everyday households across the region. They cultivate an image of heavy-duty dairy expertise, the kind of rich, reliable product that serious cooks rely on for perfect sauces and decadent desserts. Yet, if you look at the ingredient decks on various Darigold heavy cream products, it can look like an inventory sheet from a chemical manufacturing plant. Depending on the specific regional batch and packaging, their labels can include cream, milk, mono and diglycerides, carrageenan, polysorbate 80, sodium citrate, and disodium phosphate. Put that text beside a jar of fresh, pure cream and look at the sheer contrast. One of those products is a natural food pulled from dairy fat. The other is a structurally altered chemical emulsion engineered to behave like cream under the most stressful supply chain conditions imaginable. At a certain point, you have completely stopped buying agriculture, and you have started buying industrial food design. The exact same illusion is playing out through local heritage brands like Gallagher's Heavy Whipping Cream. Gallagher's carries that classic regional dairy branding that screams local craftsmanship and decades of family tradition. The old-fashioned packaging and proud Grade A labeling are specifically designed to trigger feelings of nostalgic heritage, making you think of a simpler time when food was made with care. But the moment you flip that nostalgic carton around, you find the exact same modern industrial formula: carrageenan, artificial emulsifiers, and stabilizers. It is a psychological trap. The visual identity on the front of the carton tells you absolutely nothing about the liquid on the inside. This systemic deception culminates in the ultimate industry secret: generic supermarket private label creams. Whether you are buying the house brand at Albertsons, Publix, H-E-B, or Wegmans, almost every single private label heavy cream in America follows an identical, copy-pasted formulation blueprint of cream, carrageenan, and mono and diglycerides. And here is the reality the grocery industry desperately wants to hide from you. These private label dairy products often originate from the exact same shared industrial dairy processing facilities. The cheapest house brand cream on the bottom shelf and the slightly more expensive regional brand next to it are frequently the exact same chemical formulation, processed in the exact same facility, poured into different cardboard boxes with different logos. The extra dollar you are paying for the mid-tier brand isn't buying you better dairy quality. It is literally just buying you a prettier piece of cardboard. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through 4. We have waded through the corporate sludge, exposed the additive trap, and learned how companies structurally damage dairy just to save a buck on logistics. But this is the exact moment the narrative shifts. You do not have to settle for engineered fluids, and you absolutely do not have to accept food chemistry as a permanent resident in your refrigerator. There are phenomenal, honest companies operating right here in America that prove real single ingredient heavy cream can be produced at scale without a single laboratory shortcut. These brands treat dairy like a premium food rather than a logistical commodity, and buying them is your ticket out of the marketing matrix. We start with the ultimate value play winner in the clean cream category, Clover Sonoma Heavy Whipping Cream. If you want a brand that blows the corporate competition out of the water without demanding a boutique budget, this is your gold standard. Clover Sonoma is a deeply rooted regional dairy cooperative that sources its milk from independent family farms across Northern California. Their philosophy is refreshing in its simplicity: transparency first, no shortcuts, and total respect for the raw material. Flip a carton of Clover Sonoma around and look at the ingredient list. It says one single word: cream. That is it. No gums, no seaweed extracts, no chemical emulsifiers. But here is where it gets incredibly impressive. While the FDA standard only requires a minimum of 36% milk fat to call a product heavy cream, Clover Sonoma naturally clocks in at a whopping 4% butterfat. When you pour this into a glass, you physically see the difference. It does not have that watery, bluish-white cast of a highly processed industrial cream. It is a rich, dense, ivory liquid that coats the glass beautifully. In the kitchen, it performs like an absolute dream. Because it features intact, non-damaged fat globules and a higher natural fat percentage, it whips into stiff, luxurious peaks in a fraction of the time it takes an additive heavy budget brand. It tastes cleanly and intensely of pure pasture dairy with zero chemical or chalky aftertaste. Best of all, because they utilize an efficient regional cooperative model, they can offer this pristine product at a price point that is genuinely accessible for a standard grocery run. It proves that you do not need boutique, upper-class luxury pricing just to keep industrial chemistry out of your morning coffee. Now, if you want to experience the absolute pinnacle of traditional dairy processing, you step up to Kelowna's Supernatural Organic Whipping Cream. Sourced from small, sustainable family farms in Iowa, Kelowna Supernatural rejects virtually every single industrial shortcut favored by modern food corporations. While almost every major brand on the market uses aggressive ultra-pasteurization that cooks the life out of the dairy, Kelowna utilizes a traditional low-temperature vat pasteurization process. They gently heat the cream just enough to ensure total biological safety, completely preserving the delicate natural emulsion of the milk fat. On top of that, their cream is completely non-homogenized. That means they do not violently crush the fat cells to force them to stay permanently blended. They leave them in their raw, natural state. When you open a bottle of Kelowna, you are greeted by an authentic, decadent cream top layer that you actually have to shake back into the liquid. The texture is velvety, thick, and poured straight out of history. It tastes like real, sweet cream from a farm stand because it has not been over-engineered or chemically rescued. Because of this specialized small batch processing, it is more expensive than your average grocery store brand, and it carries a shorter shelf life, meaning you actually have to use it within a couple of weeks rather than letting it sit in your fridge for 2 months. But that shorter shelf life is the ultimate badge of honor. It is living proof that you are eating real, unadulterated food. Finally, for the absolute chef-grade masterpiece of American dairy, we look to Strauss Family Creamery Organic Heavy Whipping Cream. Operating out of California with an uncompromising, old-school farming philosophy, Strauss treats heavy cream as a culinary art form. Their ingredient list is an absolute full stop: organic cream. They use absolutely zero thickeners, stabilizers, or coloring agents. Because their cows graze on sweet coastal grasses, the milk fat carries a natural, rich depth of flavor and a beautiful pale yellow hue that changes slightly with the seasons. Professional pastry chefs and high-end bakers across the country treat Strauss as an irreplaceable staple because its culinary performance is utterly flawless. It whips up with incredible stability, creating airy, decadent peaks that hold their structure without needing a chemical glue like carrageenan to keep them from collapsing. If you are baking a birthday cake, making a homemade ice cream, or crafting a high-end cream sauce, this is the definitive bottle to buy. Yes, it comes with a premium price tag, and yes, you typically have to look for it at Whole Foods, natural food co-ops, or high-end regional grocers. It is a luxury item, but it is an honest luxury. Every single extra cent you spend on a bottle of Strauss is going directly toward sustainable agriculture, meticulous processing, and unparalleled flavor, not toward a corporate marketing campaign designed to dress up an empty chemical illusion. Now that you know which corporations are tricking you and which dairies are respecting your health, let us hand you the ultimate defense mechanism so you never get scammed in the grocery aisle again. I want you to memorize these 6 simple, foolproof rules for auditing heavy cream on your own, right inside the store. Rule number 1. Block out the front of the packaging entirely. Ignore the words Grade A, ignore the pictures of pristine cows, and flip the carton directly to the ingredient panel. Rule number 2. Check for the single word green light. If the ingredient deck says nothing but cream or cream and milk, you have found real dairy that requires no chemical rescue. Rule number 3. Identify the red flag additives. If you spot carrageenan, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate 80, or gellan gum, put the carton back on the shelf immediately because you are holding a chemically engineered texturizer. Rule number 4. Check the pasteurization method. Look for brands labeled simply pasteurized rather than ultra-pasteurized, because gentle heating means the natural fat structure is still fully intact. Rule number 5. Perform the quick thickness test right in the store aisle by gently tipping the carton back and forth. Real, unstabilized cream coats the sides of the container with a thick, opaque residue, while heavily engineered cream often leaves a watery, translucent streaking pattern. Rule number 6. Look at the expiration date. If a heavy cream claims it can sit in your refrigerator for 2 full months without spoiling or separating, that is an absolute guarantee that extreme processing heat and industrial stabilization chemistry are doing the heavy lifting inside that box. When you strip away all the complicated industry jargon, the entire issue boils down to one fundamental truth. The modern food industry is optimized to prioritize transport convenience, corporate logistics, and endless shelf life far ahead of nutrition, flavor, and consumer honesty. Food conglomerates have legally re-engineered a staple product using a hidden regulatory loophole, turning a beautiful natural emulsion into a stabilized chemical illusion just to cut corporate distribution costs. To protect yourself and your family, you need to make one simple shift in your thinking. Stop shopping based on the trusted logo on the front of the box and start buying exclusively based on the raw reality of the ingredient list on the back. Thank you so much for standing with me through this deep dive and taking the time to uncover what is truly happening behind the scenes of our food supply. If this investigation opened your eyes, altered your shopping habits, or fundamentally changed the way you read a grocery label, please share this video with a friend or family member who uses heavy cream in their coffee every single morning, because they deserve to know the truth too. Hit that subscribe button right now to support independent food journalism and leave a comment below telling me exactly which brand of heavy cream is sitting in your refrigerator right this second. Be sure to stick around because our next audit is dropping next week, and we are blowing the lid completely off the deceptive marketing tricks hidden inside your everyday breakfast staples. Stop buying the corporate illusion, start demanding real food, and remember that your kitchen should never be a chemistry experiment.